Okay, just to let you know, we will be recording this webinar as well, so if anybody has trouble watching any webinar or get cut off with a call or anything, then don't worry, we'll record it all, so we can always send you the video transcript at the end. My name is Richard Thompson. I'm the Sales Director at CT Wholesale, and we provide telecom, cloud and connectivity solutions to IT resellers and telecom resellers. So today we're going to talk about Veeam Cloud Connect, and in particular the disaster recovery elements of Veeam Cloud Connect. There are a breakdown of a few different ways you can use Veeam, and we'll talk through that today as well. First of all, we'll start with an overview of the infrastructure from CT Wholesale, go on to the product, and then move on to the technical features and look at questions at the end as well. If I do stop slides, it's just to accept some more people that are coming onto the webinar. So, why choose CT Wholesale? The group was established in 2002, and we've started our hosting infrastructure in 2004. We've got a mature data center infrastructure that's been running for well over a decade now, serving quite a number of IT and telecom resellers on cloud connectivity and telecoms. We've got an average of 30% year-on-year growth, an experienced technical team, so we've got qualifications in the Veeam portion as well, so looking at Veeam qualified sales technicians as well as engineers. We provision a new service every day, running over 1,000 virtual machines, and a good percentage of our revenue is recurring, so that provides us with stability moving forward in terms of being able to always provide those services on our platform. As you see from the website, we've got quite a bit of information about our infrastructure. It's spread across 4 data centres and then quite a bit of kit at our head office in Chesterfield, where our network operations centre is. And from there, we manage a lot of the cloud infrastructure and also the backup infrastructure, in particular the Veeam, which we're going to be talking about today. So who is Veeam? Well, Veeam are a software company, and they provide a number of different software products in backup, but mainly the product that we're going to be talking about today is a product called Backup and Replication. And within that backup and replication product is a service called Veeam Cloud Connect. So people can go out and buy the Veeam Backup and Replication products, and you can use that without having to connect to the cloud at all. So in some of the early days, there were people that used to use, say, some of the semantic software out there or other backup software. People are now often using Veeam Backup and Replication to back a lot of virtual machines for that. And then there's an option to use Cloud Connect, which then allows you to connect to the cloud. You can't buy it direct from Veeam, so you have to get the software and the Cloud Connect from an infrastructure provider such as ours. Okay, so what is Veeam Cloud Connect? Well, there's 3 areas that I like to break it down into. So the first one is backup, so it allows you to back up your virtual machines. The second one is replication, so you can do a full replication of your virtual machines to another site. And then the third one is disaster recovery as a service. So that just takes it that next step up. So what that does is it allows you to have a replication of your virtual machine at the data center. And then you can turn that replication on at any point in time. So for example, if the virtual machine fails and it won't boot within your environment, you can go into Veeam and you can turn on that virtual machine, and over a VPN connection to the data center, which is all built into the software, it will allow your virtualized infrastructure, Hyper-V or VMware, to then access that virtual machine and use that machine in the cloud. And then you can just turn it off and revert back as and when the infrastructure comes available. So if we look at a customer example, so on the left-hand side of the slide, you've got the customer's VMware or Hyper-V virtualized infrastructure, some production storage, which would be your SAN, and then backup to the primary backup repository, which could be a NAS drive or a tape drive. So standard kind of infrastructure on site. And then what we look to do with that is then back up from that primary backup repository up to the cloud using Veeam Cloud Connect. And that, as I said before, could either be a backup, it could be a replication of the virtual machine, or you could take it that one step further and use the disaster recovery service, which allows your customers to then turn on those virtual machines and use them in the cloud. Within this customer example, the reason why they decided to move across to DR is because they had a mission-critical production environment. They needed it for compliance, and they needed it for peace of mind. But the reason why they decided to use Veeam Cloud Connect was because replicating that same infrastructure of the production storage and the backup in another site, and then having to replicate between the two, it is expensive. You know, you've got to buy the kit again, you've got to buy the host, you've got to think about licensing, and then also you've got to maintain that infrastructure. Someone's got to run it and manage it. Whereas when you're looking at Veeam Cloud Connect solution, you only have to pay a monthly fee for that. It's flexible, so you only pay for the licensing if you ever use it. And it's a managed service, so you simply set up the software to back up to that cloud, and then you don't have to worry about it. It will just run itself. So that's really the great thing about the Veeam Cloud Connect. It just allows you to have that managed service without having to purchase all that kit again on premise for your infrastructure storage and backup. Okay, so just moving on to the software now, after a bit of a high-level overview of Cloud Connect and the wholesale infrastructure. Now, I'm not going to run through an entire backup job and watch it from start to finish. Be a little bit boring for a demonstration, but I'm going to run through the menus and just show you where the options are, how it's set up, how it's configured, and how it works. So let's get logged on. Okay, I've noticed just a couple more people have recently connected as well. We do have a recording of this webinar, so don't worry if you missed anything. We can go back and send you the footage on that. Okay, so this is Veeam backup and replication software. So very much on the open screen. Familiar with any of the backup software? It's quite similar. It's got the usual menus down here. So we've got virtual machines, backup and replication, the jobs. So you can set up a number of different backup jobs. As I was saying before with the backup and replication, it is just that. It's split up into two different areas. So you can either backup virtual machines from your Hyper-V or VMware infrastructure, or you can replicate them to another site. There's two different kinds of jobs. What we can also now do in version 9 very well is run this cloud backup. So as well as running two backups on site, for example, to a NAS drive or another SAN storage across another warehouse at the other side of the customer's site, you can also send your customer's data up to the cloud infrastructure. So if we see how that's set up in here in service providers. So when your customer's Veeam installation is set up, then you would just add a service provider in here, which needs just a number of quite simple details, really. You put in a web address, which is this one, usually connects through port 6180, unless you've got any particular issues with the customer's firewall from that port. That can be modified as well. You have to set up credentials in. So that will include things such as the username and the password into that particular customer's secure Veeam backup. It connects to the service provider, and that's it. We can see here what's available. So now that we've connected to that Veeam repository, we can see that we've got a demo with 100 gig and WAN acceleration is disabled. What WAN acceleration does is if you have a customer with a particularly slow connection, for example on a DSL or an FTTC, then what you can do is you can use the WAN acceleration to increase the encryption and increase the compression of the data before it goes out onto the web. In order to use the WAN acceleration, we find that it's really best to have First of all, make sure that you're backing that up to a device first, such as a NAS drive or a separate SAN storage area, and then sending that out onto the cloud, preferably using SSD really, if we're using the one acceleration. But there are ways to set that up and talk through that if required. But generally it's disabled. It doesn't need a lot of bandwidth to connect. And with Veeam, you can actually scale that bandwidth and choose how much bandwidth you want to use when you're sending that data through. So that's it. It's just a few simple details to set up that cloud service provider. And if you like, now once that's set up, really it just acts as another NAS drive or another backup repository or another SAN. It's just another area in which you can send the backups and replications of your virtual machines up to the cloud. So if we go back to this area here, we can see we've got a backup job set up to the cloud, and we can see that it's been running a few times there. So we've done some demos with it, and it can have restore points as well. Now this backup here was set to run a number of points on a daily basis. With Veeam Backup Replication to Cloud Connect, it doesn't have to be daily. It could be every 15 minutes. It could be every week. You may want to choose daily, weekly, and monthly backups and have them all as separate jobs. You can really run it how you choose to run it, providing that it can make those changes over your internet connection quickly. So if we look back to this now, if we want to run a particular backup job, which we've got here, we can go into the properties of this, and we can see that you select your virtual machine for the particular job. So you might want to add another virtual machine in there, for example, if you've got 2 or 3 that you're backing up. You choose your storage. So in this instance, we want to back it up to the cloud, or it could be your NAS storage, and again you can choose your store points and everything here. And you would follow next, and complete the process. And then once you've got the schedule set up, either that will just run and report to you on a weekly, or daily basis, however often the backup runs, or you can start that backup job instantly, and it will just run the backup. With the disaster recovery as a service, you can also set that virtual machine to run. So if indeed the virtual machine does fail, it allows you to not only restore that virtual machine back, should you wish to do so, but also run that virtual machine within the cloud infrastructure. So just flicking back to the slide we had on here earlier, not only can we run the backups from the primary backup repository to Cloud Connect, so that could be the backups of replication. We can also actually turn virtual machines on within the cloud environment, allowing your customers to use those as and when required. So that really is a quick overall demonstration of Veeam from start to finish. So including the Veeam Cloud Connect, how the backup works, how the replication works, and also you can see how easy it is to set up that cloud provider and just use it just as another storage location like you would with any other backup software. And then also you've got the power of being able to run those virtual machines in the cloud. In order to access those virtual machines, they're accessed through a web panel, which you can use to then turn those virtual machines on and off, which comes with the Veeam software. Just to give you a quick idea of the licensing, how it's licensed is we license the software usually with the backup, so that's just on a pence per gig basis. And then on top of that, if you haven't got the Veeam backup and replication software, we can include that within the service as well at £10 per month per virtual machine. So it's not much to get started, and it allows your customers to have a fully backup and DR solution within the cloud, which is obviously a service which is quite available by you. So we've got a recording of the video. We'll make sure that goes out to the attendees. If you do have any questions, then please send them through to us, and we'll be happy to help. Thank you for attending the webinar today, and we hope to see you on the next one.